So welcome back. We're going to talk about group play therapy. How do we do play therapy with a group? And so generally group play therapy is more directive and it's goal centered. So for example, if I have a group focused on ADHD, I might do some activities like Mother May I, because it helps with impulse control. You can't move until the mother says, yes, I may. Or I might play red light, green light. And so a lot of times in group play therapy, we take games that children are already familiar with or that you're already familiar with, and we adapt them to meet the specific goal that we're working on. So here's some basic principles, and then we'll talk about some activities that you might do. So the first one is play fair, right? So children have a huge sense of fairness, so we want to be sure that it seems fair to kids, unless we are intentionally working on losing, in which case we might change it a little bit, but we will let the kids know afterwards. We want everyone actively involved, and so we don't want any spectator kinds of activities where the majority of the kids are watching and only 2 or 3 are playing. We want everybody to be active as much as possible. So we want to choose our activities based on a high activity level. We want to have fun, right? It's play therapy, so we want it to be fun for you, fun for the kids. So a lot of that aspect is going to be based on you, the play therapist. If you're having fun, if you're excited, the kids are going to be excited. If you go into the group and go, oh, well, we have to do Mother May I now, everybody get in a line, right? The kids are not going to be excited. So we think about using words like we get to rather than we have to. You want to have high energy. You want to say, all right, everybody, let's get in the line. Everybody get in the line by shoe size. So make it as playful as possible with the kids. You want to be positive, right? And so with kids, when they make mistakes, when things go badly, which is going to happen all the time, right? We want to be positive. We want to say things like, whoa, walking feet, right? Or, oh, are you asking or are you telling, right? So we want to hear positive words even when we might be doing some correcting in our play therapy. We want to be nurturing. We want to communicate to every child that I'm here for you, I care about you, you're important to me, I'm glad you're here, and you can do it. I want to sequence my activities. So I want to start with low trust activities where the child is not risking anything physically or emotionally and move to high trust. So a low trust activity would be something that involves just a name game, right? Or something that is you're just telling your favorite color or your favorite flavor of ice cream. High trust would be talking about emotions or talking about a tough time in your life. So low trust to high trust. So I don't ever want to start my session with everybody sit down in a circle. I'm going to throw the ball to you and tell me what's the most difficult thing that happened to you this week, right? Because that's going to fail. I want to start with low trust. Let's just play a silly game. Let's do something about names. Let's do something about your favorite color, movie, ice cream flavor, and then move slowly to that high trust activity where we're dealing with emotions and tough stuff. I want to be predictable. So when I'm doing group play therapy, I always want to have a predictable beginning. So we always start the same way and we always end the same way. So those rituals are going to really help children to know what to expect. Everybody likes to know what to expect, but especially kids. And so the beginning, I always want to have something that we do to start. So for most play therapists, we usually start with a group or a tribe or whatever, a clump, whatever you call them, gathering together, and we go over our rules. Usually we don't call them rules though, we call them traditions because rules sounds negative. It sounds like you're the teacher or the principal, and so we say, let's talk about our group traditions. So what are they? They are be honest, be positive, no hurts, stick together, have fun, right? And so we want to be really short. We want to ask, so what does that tradition mean to you? So stick together means we help each other out. Have fun means what? We have fun, right? No hurts means we don't hurt each other emotionally with our words or physically with our actions, right? So we want to go through that each time. So In the middle of our play therapy session, we always want to have a snack with water. We want to offer water throughout. We know kids from hard places, kids with trauma, need to hydrate, and they need food every 2 hours. We don't know what happened before they got to us, so we want to have that snack and water very early on. So we want to have some kind of a connection when they come in the door. Maybe you have a special handshake with each kid. Maybe you do a high five every time. It can be simple, but it needs to be repetitive so that there's a prediction. At the end, we always want to end with something that's connecting. So end with what's one thing everybody liked about today. End with what's a takeaway you have. End with everybody put your hands together and say, go team, right? Something that's going to end us on a positive note and get us out the door. We want to be active. Remember, children's language is play. And so there's less talking, more doing. So we don't want to over talk in our play therapy group. We want to do. Remember, our goals are relationship and process, not diagnoses. And so my goal in my session is have I strengthened the relationship? Have we had a good process? And have we met our goal? Never give a choice when there's not a choice, right? And so think about how you can help the child to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So there's some things where there are choices, right? You can go to the red corner or the blue corner or the green corner, right, to start the game. You can have goldfish or animal crackers for your snack. There's some things where there's not a choice, right? We're gonna all sit down right now and listen, right? And so it's not a choice whether you're gonna listen, but you could sit here or here, right? You could sit on the beanbag or you could sit on the floor. You could sit against the wall or you can sit not against the wall. So there are lots of choices, but we never want to offer a choice when there's not a choice. So there's not a choice about safety. Our friends are not for hitting, right? But you can pretend the Bobo is your friend and hit them. So there are always choices. If there's no choice, don't offer one. So don't ask, hey, do you guys want to get ready to leave now, right? Because what if they say no? Then you're stuck. So you want to say, it's time to get ready to leave. Everyone, put your hand in the middle, right? So we want to make statements instead of asking questions as much as possible. So let's talk about some activities for group play therapy. So again, we always want to start with something that is very low trust, that's connecting. And so we might do something that is like a name sign. So in a circle, everybody says their name and they do an action that goes with their name, right? And so my name is Dr. T and I like to be excited. I'm going to clap. And then the next person says, my name is Sarah and I like to sing. Okay, and so then everybody says Sarah, Dr. T. And then we go to the next person. My name is Joe and I like to play football. And so we all go Joe, Sarah, Dr. T, and go around the circle. Low trust. However, we learn something about each child. So a good beginning activity. From there, we might do an activity like pipeline, right? And so this is a cooperative activity. So you have PVC pipes and each child has a pipe and you have to get the ball from point A to point B without touching the pipes together, and you can't move if the pipe is in your hand. If you look up adventure-based counseling and pipeline, you'll find the directions to that activity. Then from there we can talk about, so what happened with the ball and the pipes? How did you work together? What's one good thing that you saw about someone else? What's something that was hard about this activity? And then here's where it's going to help us therapeutically. How is that like what goes on in your school, in your home, in your life, right? Maybe from there we want to do something else, like make a mask. And so here's a mask that we made out of paper mache. And so we could talk about, I'd like you to decorate the front of your mask. What do people see you? How do people see you? And then the back, what are things that people never know about you? And then ask the children to share based on their level of comfort. And so we're going from very low trust to very high trust. Make sense? So some other activities we could do with group play therapy. We could do a snowball fight, right? And so we could get just wadded up paper and on go. There are two sides of the room. I want to get all of my snowballs on your side and the other side wants to get their snowballs on their side. And so there's mass chaos. Kids think it's really fun. And then you can talk about, so what you have to do. So eventually the teams are going to create a strategy to work together. How is that like your life, your school? How do you work together? What are some things in your life that you'd like to throw away, right? What are some things you would never like to throw away? And you can have them write that on a crumpled piece of paper. What's a time when you've messed up, right? Because we had crumpled paper here. What would you like to do differently? So there are lots of things we could take from that really simple activity. So I mentioned Mother May I. So if you remember that game, everybody's lined up and one child says, could I take 5 steps forward? And then, and they say, Mother, may I? And she says, yes, you may, or no, you can't. And so each child is trying to get closer and closer to the mother so they can win. And so we learn about patience, about impulse control, about asking, right, properly. So red light, green light is a great activity. You could do lots of adaptations. And so if you remember that activity, on green light, you try to run as fast as you can to the person in the front. On red light, you have to stop. But if you move, then you have to go all the way back to the start. And so we can talk about what's some time in school when you're frustrated or when you have to start over. What's a time when you really, really wanted to do something and you had to wait, right? So lots of activities like that. There's some really good information out there on group theraplay from that technique. Also in child-centered, Gary Landreth, child-centered group therapy, and filial therapy, group therapy, which would be with the parent involved. So I hope this has helped you some in thinking about the idea of groups with children, and you'll do well.